Um, this is a follow-up to my previous video because I ran out of memory because I just uh, I just use a cheapy Motorola, so I only get about 11 gigabytes worth of memory to do any videos that I do on here. But I cut off where I was talking about the Winnipeg police that wear badges, which are basically fake because they don't represent a real star. So, when I know that as a child with law enforcement running around in black and white, duality is just like, oh man, so you just keep your mouth shut. You want to maintain your state of peace, your state of love, so you know that you're here. And the importance of that is not allowing what is represented by what their energy is held captive to by what they do. They're basically puppets on a string. They're what we call the expendables. They're the first to go. They're easy replaceable. It's like a revolving door, like when you go into a supermarket, a turnstile. I mean, they're replaceable easily because they occupy what we used to call the lowest man on the totem pole, what I call Westworld or the Underworld gatekeepers. So what they do is they protect gangsters, thugs, murderers, kidnappers, thieves, Frankenstein experimenters. That's what they do. I know that because I've worked with a lot of law enforcement guys because I came into fire protection working for the Orange County Fire Department when I was 17 years of age. So I had work associations with the California Highway Patrol, the Orange County Sheriff's Department, all the law enforcement guys, but I've always given a qualifier. I've met some of them that are very beautiful, decent, that have souls. They have compassion and they have honor and they're trustworthy and they're honorable and they live up to a code of honor, which is their conduct. Okay, now, given, say, over the last 7 years, that's changed quite a bit. Okay, from what it was like when I was growing up and a child, and people I know that worked in law enforcement versus what's there today, because you began to realize that many of those ranks that are filled up given time and generational, it's really a numbers game, okay, because in every department you have a number of employees, right, that are based on the energy that is represented by the numbers that they run, which is the calculator that they use to experience who they are between negative slash plus. So you got to start with that, right? So I've experienced, for example, officers that wore a badge that were not the least bit interested in handcuffing you or giving you a ticket or throwing you in jail because they were cognizant enough to know that who they work for, that's exactly what he's supposed to do in order to do what? Steal your energy. Okay, voltage regulators. That's why they were called regulators back during the mid 1800s. They were known as regulators, which are voltage regulators because they're metering your energy, and then they can use an AI drone to make an intersection with you, like a cop is going to stop you for. As one of them told me when I was a teenager, we got 856 different reasons that we can look for to stop you and fuck with you, because that's our job. We make intersections with you because the AI knows where you're at and we want to drain your energy and let you know that we know you're here. Okay. I'll just give you an example. I'm minding my own business walking home one night, and this would have been like 1967, and I had long hair. Imagine all of a sudden a sheriff pulls up, two guys pull out, throw you up against the fence, handcuff you, pull out a pair of shears, and butcher your hair. Shit like that. Right? Who would think about doing stuff like that? Why? I haven't harmed anybody. I'm not doing anybody harm. That's the point. The point is to stress and cause you an enormous amount of hypertension, or what we call a reactive state, a negative reactive state, which is a negative magnetic reactive state, which is lower density. Okay? To slow down your drive motor. Feed on your energy. Okay? So when you have these police officers, for example, here you fast forward to 2023 now. So you have these young women, okay, that have been murdered, thrown in a landfill, and the police department refuses to bring back the remains of those bodies to those families. Okay. So this is where we come full circle with this problem, because I mentioned this to my clan mother a while back because she filed the documents in the international court to basically strip their title for them to operate anymore on this planet, which means every single corporation, because by definition, they're parasitic. Okay. And that's who everybody that's in law enforcement on the planet works for. They work for parasites, bigger vampires. So they're held captive to what? Money. Because they don't know how to live another way. You go up to any police officer who's a captain who's makes $100,000 a year. Guess what? I'm going to murder somebody right in front of you. Okay? And if you report it, because I'm going to tell you who this person is, you're going to lose your paycheck. You think a police chief is willing to give up $100,000 a year by reporting a murder of an Indian, of a native, spirit with a soul? Would they do anything about it, knowing that they would lose their job if they did anything about that? No. Well, that's Winnipeg. That's exactly what you have. So what happens to all the Canadian people when they realize that the very government, okay, upon which they get Social Security checks, they work at jobs, is all run through that same system, which is an AI game simulator? They're held captive too, because they rely on the paycheck that gives them money, that they're held captive to, upon which if I bark too loud, they're going to come after me. I'll lose my job, because they have ways to do that, and that's called blackballing you. When they know who you are on the game board, and all of a sudden you apply for a job, know you're the most qualified, and you're going to go in there like gangbusters because you're loving service to others, and then you find out you didn't get the job. They have the ability to make sure that you don't get that job. As a matter of fact, they have the ability to make sure that a lot of things never happen for you, because they know where you are, and they have their assets in place to make sure that the instructions that they get, which are coded, do not do what it is that they're supposed to do, that facilitates the support that they give you, that allows you to be able to do what your intention is through them. Because you're in their system. In and out of their system. In and out. Logging in, logging out. So now you get into the differences between people live that are not part of that system. And there's a word for that called living off grid, which means you're totally non-dependent on them. You don't need their money. You don't need their corporations. You don't need their big box stores. You don't need their doctors. You don't need their dentists. You don't need their fueling stations. Which means you've decided to create a completely different reality stream for yourself, because you realize that the energy that you're using, that you're held captive to, is in a system that's trying to kill you off. Because everything that they have generated represents a dead planet. Everything that they generate represents what is, in real terms, a universe killer. Okay? So the whole idea was to program the codes in your mind upon which you're held captive and RAM to them. So that the more dependent people become on them to live in a Truman Show set that they set up, which are called plotters, plotting your future, because they know how to program the codes that are held within your memory so that you experience exactly what they want you to experience without you knowing about it. And that's called the unconscious RAM. So when the light exposes all the programming, watch out for that reaction state. See? So when you have an alternate, what's called an alternate universe that they live in, which isn't the one that you live in, which is what love is, how are you going to convert that? Convert? Now we're into the inverted side. They're inverted. So that's when I began to realize they're so deeply programmed as bots, because they're held captive to the system that they operate, like a non-player. Much like the way it was depicted in Free Guy. Listen, I'm just doing my job. Why are you blaming me? Now we're back to Mr. Smith saying, it's your fault, Neo. It started with you. It started with the one. It started with the love vibration. It's your fault. Now you're into victimizer. That's the alter. That's the alternate software. They're going in the other direction. So you know they don't have a future because they're going back in time, in a time loop. That's your negative magnetic polarity, reverse flow, which are reversal currents. So now you begin to understand the relationship that you have between service to self, held captive by the system, under an AI engine, and those that are in love and service to others that know better. They're going in the other direction. In other words, one has a future, the other one does not. Because one is losing density and gaining speed because they're experiencing more light, and the other one is losing speed and gaining more mass. So they love their lower density. So they feed on us, creating energy debts where they can never catch up to zero. Slower waves. Acid batteries. Yep. Acid batteries. pH 1. 1D, 2D. Get it up, get it up. The higher octave. Experience more light. Do the female. Da 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 da. Rebirth of the goddess energy. Bringing it up, bringing it up, bringing it up. That's higher speed. That's more voltage. That's more photons kicking out electrons. Brrr, firing more codes, releasing the codes. Now we remember who we are. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have a great day. I love you all. Be good to yourselves.